Hey guys, what's up? So in this video, we're going to be looking at how to solve polynomial equations. And what we're going to be using is we're going to be using a method called factoring. So you will need to know how to factor to solve these equations using this method. So let's look at number one here, and let's work this out. So we see that we can factor out an r out of this first, out of both terms. So we'll have an r, and then 36 r squared minus 1. Now we can see, and sorry about the handwriting, guys, I'm using my mouse to write here. Still getting good at that. We see we have the difference of squares here, so we could also factor this as 6r, square root of 36r squared, plus 1. 1 times 1 is 1, and then 6r minus 1. Okay, and then we get our solutions because if this is equal to 0, then each one of these must also be equal to 0. So we can say r equals 0 is one solution. R equals 0 is one solution. So we'll just write that right here. I'm just going to go ahead and erase this. But also 6r plus 1 equals 0 is a solution. So we can solve that. 6r plus 1 has to equal 0. So if we solve this, we can subtract the 1 and then divide by 6. So r equals negative 1/6. And if we do similar thing with 6r minus 1, then we'll get 1 over 6. So we'll have negative 1 over 6 and positive 1 over 6. So we just take each of these factors, set it equal to 0, and that's how we get our answers. So we have solutions at r equals 0, negative 1 over 6, and positive 1 over 6. And we can check these solutions using a graphing calculator. So if we bring up Desmos and type in our equation, so 36r cubed, and one thing actually Desmos doesn't like r, so we'll use x's. X cubed minus x. And if we don't type in the equals 0 part, then it will tell us, we can see we have a solution here at negative 0.1667, which is the negative 1/6. We have a solution here at 0, 0. And we have a solution here at 0.1667, which is the same thing as 1/6. So here's our three solutions. Everywhere where it crosses the x-axis, you get a solution. Now if I put in the equals 0, you can see that it gives me the same solutions, but it doesn't give me the little dots, so I can't hover over it to see exactly what the decimal value is. So if you solve these for 0 first, and then just type in that side of the equation, then you can actually see the little dots on Desmos to see kind of an approximation of where they cross. Let's do one more. Let's do number 2 here. So again, I would add the 60x over to the left side. So we'll have 20x cubed plus 80x squared plus 60x equals 0. And then we see we can pull out a factor of 20 out of each of these, and also a factor of x out of each of these terms. So let's do that. We'll pull out a 20x. So this first term will just be an x squared. In this second term, we'll have a 4x. And in this last term, we'll have a 3. Okay. And then we see we can factor this as well. So if we do that, we'll have 20x out here in the front. Let's put in our little parentheses here. All right, x times x is x squared, so we'll have an x and an x. We have a plus here, so that means they're both going to be the same as this, which is a plus. So we'll have 2 plus signs. And then what times what equals 3? That would be a 3 times 1. We have to make sure they add up. 3 plus 1 does give us this 4 right here. So those are correct factors. So we can set each one of these factors equal to 0 individually to get our solutions. So if we set 20x equal to 0, let's change colors here. If we set 20x equal to 0 and divide by 20, we see that x just equals 0. So that's one of our solutions. Let's do the same thing with our other two terms. X plus 3 equals 0. Let's change colors again. And we can see we subtract the 3, x will be negative 3. So there's another solution. And then finally, let's do the x plus 1. So x plus 1 equals 0. Subtract the 1, so x will be negative 1. And there's our third solution. There aren't always 3 solutions, but there were for these first 2 examples. And then we can check that using Desmos. So let's type in the left side of the equation right here. So 20x cubed plus 80x squared plus 60x. And if we zoom out, let's make this a little bigger. If we zoom out, we can see that we get it to cross at negative 1, which was one of our solutions. Negative 3, so negative 3, negative 1, and 0. Let's check those again. Negative 3, negative 1, and 0. So you can see that these are correct. All right. I'll leave the other 2 up here, so if you want to try them, you can. But like I said, first step, move whatever you have on the right side over to the left, and then factor it, and then you can solve. All right, in these next exercises, we're supposed to find the zeros of the function. This is essentially the same thing. You're just trying to find essentially the solution as if this f of x right here were equal to 0. So you can solve them the same way, but when you're finding the zeros of the function, you're just finding where the function crosses the x-axis. So where the y value or the function is equal to 0, that's why it's called a zero of a function, but you can solve them the exact same way. So if we were to do this first one, we'll just do 1 this time. I'll tell you what, let's erase this so we have a little more space to work here. So if we solve this one, let's factor the right side. So it looks like we can bring out an x squared. So we'll have x squared and then x squared, because we take out x squared out of x to the 4th, we'll have x squared left, minus x minus 12. Okay. We can and then I guess we'll set this equal to 0 because we're finding the zeros. Then we can factor this middle one, so we'll have x squared. We'll have this little things equals 0. Okay, x times x equals x squared. We'll have a plus and a minus because we have a minus sign here. So that means opposite signs. And then 3 times 4, I'm going to put the 4 here. 3 times 4 is 12. Notice 3 and 4 add up to negative 1. So negative 4 plus 3 is negative 1. So that works out And we can solve these the exact same way. If we set x squared equal to 0, short version is x equals 0. If you set x plus 3 equal to 0, you'll get x equals negative 3. And if you set x minus 4 equal to 0, you'll get x equals 4. So these are your 3 zeros for this function. And again, we can check it using a graphing calculator and see where it crosses the x-axis. So we have x to the 4th minus x cubed minus 12x squared. And we can see we have solutions at negative 3, 0, and 4. Negative 3, 0, and 4. Those are our solutions. Okay, guys, so that's how to solve polynomial equations and also how to find zeros of polynomial functions. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like if you liked. If you have any questions for me, leave a comment down below. But that's all for me, and I'll see you next time.